Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to another BRAP rant. Sorry, we started late. Hamp and I were having a great conversation about parenting and sports. So, that's always a fun conversation to have. If you have kids and they play soccer, yeah, you may have some insight into what we're talking about behind the scenes. But anyhow, welcome back everyone to BRAP. I do have with me the especially Lee Hampton. What's up, Hamp?
Yeah, my apologies for trying to educate the world. I heard another podcaster was telling me that I shouldn't do that, so my apologies. But I am here.
Oh, that's what happened. Someone told you that you shouldn't share insight with the rest of the gaming community.
Right. I should just join in throwing shade at the game that was the 17th highest selling game in 2002.
Oh my goodness! You gotta love Twitter gaming and YouTubers. always a good time.
Gotta love that clout chasing.
Yes, exactly. Yes, by people who by people who do pro bono marketing work for Xbox and who probably don't play games on Xbox. But anyhow, speaking of Xbox, we're going to talk about Xbox. Actually, more specific, Halo Infinite, which has been in the news cycle quite a bit because of unfortunately some employees at 343 Industries were laid off as a result of, as part of some of the layoffs that happened at Microsoft recently. But part of that had to do with just the studio underperforming financially or not hitting certain financial goals. My understanding is about a third of the workforce at 343 Industries has been let go. They have paused development on any narrative-related content with Halo Infinite. That came out. And then yesterday, the head of the studio actually tweeted that, look, Halo's not going anywhere. They're going to continue working on, content for it. So interesting that they came out and tweeted that. I was kind of surprised by that, Hamp. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but I was surprised that they did that. I guess that's, I don't know. I was just surprised, I guess. It's Halo. I wasn't expecting Halo to go anywhere. I think it's still an important franchise for Microsoft or Xbox. But yeah, we're going to discuss kind of like just give our own take or just give our thoughts about what maybe 343 I should do in revamping Halo. More specifically, the multiplayer. We won't get into the narrative stuff, but more specifically the multiplayer because we've been playing a lot of Halo Infinite multiplayer. Quite a bit, actually, Hamp. I think we play almost, maybe not every night, but probably 4 or 5 days a week. How the week we play?
I have metrics. So I didn't start as you would expect. I didn't start playing Halo Infinite multiplayer until 2022, right? And so I think it was, I can't remember if it was in January or if it was December 2021, whatever was the one episode that I was on Crossfire. We talked about this. The last episode I was on BRAP, where, a virtual conversation right as I was on the podcast between, myself and Slow-Mo, and Luca, which I think they continued, on the Scumcast. I incorrectly thought that they were talking about me as far as people who were throwing shade at how people felt about Halo, who didn't play a lot of Halo. So regardless of my mistake, I was inspired by it, and I doubled down and played a lot of Halo. And this is similar to what happened a couple of years ago. I want to say 2018, 2019, when my podcast was throwing shade at Star Citizen. And we had talked about Star Citizen for a very long time and been reporting on it for a very long time. And finally I hit a point where I said, hey, look, guys, if we're going to be throwing shade at Star Citizen, somebody's got to go, deep undercover and play the game and not only play the game, but spend a lot of time in that community. So that's what I did with Halo. I've played 1,000 matches of Halo Infinite over the year. I've earned everything across all the battle passes, earned everything in the winter event, earned everything in winter event part 2, I guess we'll call it. So I've played a crap ton of Halo Infinite. And I've come to understand, I think, a little more, what things are, what things bother people about where Halo Infinite is. There are aspects of it that bother me. but at the end of the day, right? It's like you were saying, right? It's still a game with some of the best when it works, 100%. Still has some of the best feeling gunplay and combat mechanics of any first person, right, PvP shooter out there on the market.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I mean, that's kind of the one thing I think we always when we talk about the things that the game does well from a multiplayer perspective. That's it. I mean, it nails it. Which is why I keep coming back and playing it. But we've I took some time off from playing the multiplayer, and then got back into it again as Slow-Mo started playing more and we started playing more. I think we've got 2-3 other people that we play with. I think Forte will jump on every once in a while as well. Outside of the great gunplay and everything, and how balanced I feel like the guns are, except for that noob combo, which I've started using. And obviously the cheating's an issue too. I think we've run into a couple of wall hackers recently, right? Maybe some aimbots. Some people using aimbots, but outside of those things, I mean, we were talking about what 343i can do to kind of drive engagement, right? And this with Halo as a live service game, because when I was thinking about these layoffs that happen, like in some of the reports that were coming out, where the reason why this layoff happened was because the studio wasn't meeting its financial targets. And so I'm thinking, I think the player engagement's around 7,000 active users at any given time. Is that? I don't know if that's. I think that's.
I think that would be on PC. I'm not sure what it is on across Xbox.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it's even the top 5 games played on Xbox right now, which is again, I think about Halo and the history of Halo. And by the way, for those who don't know, I go back. I bought an Xbox because of Halo. I feel like most people bought an Xbox 20-something years ago before Halo. I mean, it was such a iconic franchise, and just was a huge hit for Microsoft, and their first foray into console gaming, and then Halo 2 came out, and that was just a massive success, and but so over the last 20 years, I've been seeing kind of the evolution of Halo, and I never thought it would be a live service game, but when I think about it as a live service game, and again I think about the reason why why they had to downsize the studio, and I think about them not meeting financial targets, and I think about the active player count. We talked about PC being around 7,000 active players. And I think Camp, I think you made mention that are they more players on the Master Chief Collection right now?
I'm not sure. I know that was mentioned, I don't know, midway through last year, maybe kind of late spring-ish, that was kind of an upside down metric.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about a lot, right, is the kind of endemic consumer problem that you have with all the baggage, right, that Halo has around it.
Yeah.
Which is not only a gaming problem, right? That is a Microsoft problem, to its core, and may partially feed into their approach, because that's kind of written into their culture's DNA. Is they are much less given to any notion of ever being able to abandon their legacy user base, because they make Windows, and everybody still needs to use. We still enable 32-bit applications to run on Windows, right? In 2023,
Yeah.
And so they're a culture that's built up around never being able to leave the past behind entirely, and they do it right in some ways because the world just moves in a direction where that has to be the case, but for instance, people flew up in outrage because there was discussion of Windows future updates, abandoning former core chipsets, right, from Intel.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a thing that Apple does routinely as a matter of their makeup, right? That as the operating system moves, there's always a wave of chipsets that are a certain number of years behind. That Apple says, yeah, these chipsets are no longer supported. But again, that's just kind of a thing that I worry. I don't know if worry is the right term, but that I see and feel like, whereas I would contend and argue that Bungie kind of saw that light and said, hey, to build Destiny, we have to leave Halo entirely behind.
Yeah.
There's no way to skate into the future that is kind of our vision, and to do that within the Halo framework.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Microsoft sees a way to kind of get out of their own way to make that kind of a decision.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were discussing too, and why I wanted to do the show, because we talked about what they can do to kind of move the franchise forward, which I think they need to do. I mean, again, I was thinking about people losing their jobs because they're not meeting financial goals. I mean, if they're not driving, if they're not making money off microtransactions, DLC, in a live service game, I mean, how much of a future can Halo have? I mean, that's my question, number one. Like, at some point, if it's not making money, and because they're not, they're not getting enough people to buy content, to buy, armor sets, or whatever the case is, you got to imagine that Microsoft may say, you know what, this game isn't making money. It just doesn't make sense for us to prop this thing up anymore. We just need to pull the plug. Because we know that, obviously these companies are in the business to make money. I think people forget that sometimes, that these companies are for-profit companies. Their job is to make money. And T-Rock says Popeye's chicken. What did I miss? We'll get to Popeye's chicken here in a minute, T-Rock. And so we were talking about that, Hamp, like what can they do? And it's like, I was kind of like throwing around ideas as we were playing Halo Infinite the other night. And I'm like, well, they got to do something with these armor sets, like the color palettes, they just don't have enough. Like, they're not sexy, if you know what I mean. Like, we talked about the armor sets with in Destiny with the Hunter, the Warlock, and the Titan class. Those three classes have different types of armor sets. And even if you said this happened the other night we were playing Halo Infinite, like even if you don't like do the raid and you play like a couple games of Destiny, whatever the case is, you're still going to get decent looking gear, right? And decent weapons. Like you're gonna get something that I guess visually looks appealing. And by the way, I'm all about the eye candy. It's like, my biggest disappointment with Halo Infinite was like, I unlocked these new color palettes, and I'm like, and I apply them to the Spartan armor. I'm like, it just doesn't look good. It's got like this ashiness to it, but when I completed season 1, Hamp, of Halo Infinite, you know what I got? I got like a fire emoji, I think. And I got like some kind of like, I think like elbow upgrade or something, or wrist upgrade. And that was it. For grinding to level 100. And I didn't feel like that was really rewarding. So I think that they need to figure out how to better incentivize gamers who are grinding and completing the season passes. Slomo says it's too early for the stream. I guarantee you Slomo is probably in bed right now listening to the show. But like you said, Hamp, about Bungie and saying, look, the path forward is leaving Destiny behind, or Halo behind. Maybe the path forward for 343 with Destiny is to leave core Destiny behind, or core. I'm sorry, the path forward with Halo with 343 is to leave core Halo behind and start implementing season passes that maybe look similar to what COD does. Because I think you were saying, Hamp, that COD has new seasons every 6 weeks.
I want to say that's the paradigm. I mean, I think, just to not like squelch down on that specific metric. I think the case I was making was, all of the live service games, particularly the ones that are inclusive in the PvP, multiplayer shooter genre, have toggled and gone back and forth, with elasticity on exactly how long their seasons are going to be, and have figured out, what is the right cadence for them to release new seasons with sufficiently new content. And I'm sure at the technological level, at the code level, they've determined a way to template new designs, to incorporate new designs, and to roll them out in volume, right, concurrently with that cadence. All of them have had to go through those struggles and figure that out. But none of them stretch the battle pass to the length of a Halo season. And I'm willing, I'm not of the mindset that like, look, every battle pass season has to be of the same length as everyone else. I was totally open to the Halo experimentation of making the seasons longer. I understand the design ethos behind, hey, let's not make, we were talking about thirst traps before we went live. Let's not make chasing the battle pass a big thirst trap, right? I'm okay with that if you build and architect and establish a framework that makes that worthwhile. But I think part of the Halo problem is how do you make that worthwhile? How do you keep everyone's attention for a 6-month time span? I'm okay with not having the churn of a battle pass. I mean, I struggle with the Call of Duty battle pass frequency and like trying to complete everything. And I know I see all these posts on Twitter that like, Call of Duty needs more content. I've already done everything. I'm like, look, games aren't designed around, right, the 2% of the demographic that plays 40 hours a week, right, and streaks through everything. It's oriented around the median. Right. And I also try and game in a way that like those games are not my career and I have time to go hit other new releases. So I'm open to that. But the problem with Halo has been, they haven't figured out a way to, keep the laundry bag full of things for you to do, even in the same way that like Destiny does, right, for the length of its seasons. And the Destiny seasons are like only, I think they run, roughly quarterly. There are 4 in a year. So those might be like 10 weeks. But they've figured out a way to template and keep things out there for you to do, even if you just want to do, frequently in Destiny, sometimes I'll go in and I'll just do like utilitarian stuff, like a patrol, right, or whatever, just to grind, right, for some light level. But they figured out a way to template that and make that available and doable, with ease and convenience, in a way, and rewarding in a way that Halo Infinite hasn't figured out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then like, the rewards are kind of like what you earn. Like I remember like as we're playing the new challenge, and it's like the rewards that we're getting. I think it was me, you, and Slow-Mo. We're all kind of looking through, what the different items you would unlock by, progressing through the challenge. I forget what's the challenge called? It's Joint Ops, I think. Is that?
Yeah, Joint Ops, which was a capture the flag event.
Yeah. So, and we're kind of like, eh. I remember someone like, eh. It's like a lot of the items that you get just aren't really, at least for me, Hamp. Don't move the needle for me. Like I'm not interested in the unlocks, the visors. I'm like, okay, I got a visor. Like it just. Oh, I got this new weapon skin. Okay, I'd like to see them, break away from the traditional Halo template and maybe offer some customizations similar to what maybe COD does, where you're tinkering around with your assault rifle loadout. You're getting upgrades. Outside of upgrades that impact the performance of the weapon as opposed to just cosmetic upgrades. I'd like to see that. I like that. That to me it'd be cool to tinker around with different loadouts for specific maps in Halo or gameplay types like capture the flag. I mean, I'd like them, and even with the armor, I'd like for them to do that. I know that when they implemented like some of the, they did try to. I do think 343 did try to move the franchise forward. I think with Halo 5 and 4 multiplayer. But if I'm not mistaken, I had this conversation with OBM, who's a diehard Halo fan. But I think there was some pushback, if I'm not mistaken, from the diehard Halo community. And I think I said this to you, Hamp. Like, they just need to just move on from the community. And I really think just, and I think, and in my opinion, I think if this game is going to have a fighting chance, because again, I keep thinking about how are they going to make this thing? This thing needs to make money. They need to, in order to keep the lights on. I don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and Slow Mo brought it up in chat. He's like the rewards for the last 3 items of the and even Slow Mo for the joint ops event, right? Which I get, it was free, it was extra content. I'm sure there's an argument from people out there that say you can't have high expectations for something they give away, but the point is how stimulating is that content and how impactful is that content, and just like you're saying about season 2, the last 3 awards for the joint ops event are 2 shoulder pads and a helmet attachment.
Yeah, camera.
and I'm like, I mean, I like that stuff. I like that it's in the mix, and it like I said, I joke around about it gives me that Barbie doll effect, right? And I can mix and match and make up stuff that I want, right? But is that a reason to keep me grinding? Like, the only thing that keeps me grinding through that stuff is a sense of completionism, right? And what you're talking about, BRAP, is what you and I talked about a few days ago, which is part of the problem with the Halo Infinite dynamic. And I'm not, and we're mentioning these things because I respect it, right? I understand the struggle, the creative struggle in making the decisions and the choices. We always talk about games and how games are. You have the ability to choose to jank left or right from a limited set of options, right? And when you're making certain games and when you're making the approach to certain games, when those limitations are more constraining, right, it's more problematic to come through them. And that's the case with Halo Infinite, as you mentioned, right, with its legacy fan base, which is, every time you talk about kind of modern game implementation that is oriented around live service, games as a service, competitive PvP, battle passes, yada, 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 what you hear from a lot of the Halo community is, well, that's not Halo. Battle passes aren't Halo, season passes aren't Halo, unlocks, aren't Halo. This notion that you mentioned, right, which is having a progression system that involves more than just cosmetics, but includes weapons, right, is just, I mean, you're going to get a ton of pushback from the Halo community that Halo is oriented around, look, there are 8, 9, 10, 12 set weapons. That's all you get. When we introduce a new weapon, we, the developers, are going to introduce it, and everyone's going to have access to it, and it's something you have to find and pick up on the battlefield in a particular mode, right? You don't, there's not a progression system oriented around weapons where you own them. But again, that's a constraining design factor where the developers aren't able to orient expansion of content down a certain trajectory because of that pushback which they receive from the legacy base. And what we're talking about is if you shed that legacy base, which I get it, that's a problem, right? There are other dynamics that invokes, right? It opens you up to a world of additional possibilities that that team could pursue.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of, and like what Slow Mo was saying, like even with the sprint in game, like I remember that they hated that. I said the diehard Halo community, they hated it. And then like we talked about the Master Chief Collection, and I said this on Crossfire the other night. I said, I feel like Xbox's goodwill in putting together the Master Chief Collection and having that out there in Game Pass and having this bundle. I mean, I thought that kind of came back to bite him in the rear a little bit because it splits the community, it splits the player base because you have people playing the Master Chief Collection, and then you have people playing Halo Infinite, and I'm thinking and I think you mentioned this too, like why not sunset Master Chief Collection and just force everyone over to Halo Infinite. If you want to play Halo, this is the place to play Halo moving forward.
Yeah, I mean that's a choice that can be made, and again, I acknowledge that it creates that creates tension, right? Sure, in considering that, but we have examples where people didn't make that choice. Nintendo didn't force everyone over to the Nintendo Switch OLED, even though that is heavily what I expected to happen. I expected that other SKU to just go away. Other games have come along, and even Destiny 2, right, when it stood up, they didn't sunset Destiny, which was just kind of weird to me. But yeah, I definitely think you create a cannibalization problem when you have another IP of your own creation that is one of your primary competitors, right? That is an alternative, and they definitely I definitely think from a business aspect they need to more so heavily consider. And and the reasons for putting the MCC together theoretically were to get the team experience, right, in in kind of rebuilding that IP, right, and to get them things under the belt from a tooling perspective. But I just don't know that they've leveraged that in putting together Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And as we say, right, it's the other problem is it's own primary competitor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, I mean, but those are, like Slomo was saying, like, when they showed creativity, he's saying with 343, I showed creativity in their armor designs. The diehard Halo community said it was too futuristic. And Slomo thinks they should have stayed with that artistic aesthetic. I don't disagree with him. But I just do as much as I love the core gameplay of Halo Infinite, because like we said earlier, it's solid. Like it's some of the best. It's the reason why I keep coming back and playing it, because that gunplay is so good, and I enjoy it. I have fun playing the game. I feel like I love the one-on-one, engagements. I love, we were playing, was it not Capture the Flag, but we were playing Team Slayer the other day, and I grabbed a sniper rifle. I'm kind of perched up on the I forget what map that was. It's the map that has a bridge that goes across the middle. Where the team
I think that's is that, I can't remember if that's Behemoth or Catalyst.
Is it Behemoth? No, Behemoth is maybe it's Catalyst. I don't know.
I think it might be Catalyst.
Yeah, it's the one where you can go across the bridge, and, yeah. And I was sniping, and I was like, I think you heard my enthusiasm, Hamp, as I'm sniping people, and they're running by me, and you just see kind of their body go flying in the air, But it's moments like that, I mean, that just, that are thrilling to me, and that, and are one of the reasons why I keep going back and playing the game, because it plays so well. The weapons are so good. But that map is Catalyst, by the way. Catalyst, okay. But Hamp, let me ask you a question, because let's just say, Hamp, Microsoft reaches out to you. They're like, Hamp, we're going to pay you the big Hamp bucks. We're going to give you, every Friday we're going to bring Popeye's chicken to the office. By the way, Popeye's chicken's good. Really good. By the way, Hamp has me dipping biscuits in mashed potatoes. Let me tell you something. If you haven't done that, you're missing out. You are missing out, I promise you. It's so good. So good. Although the missus looked at me like I was crazy, Hamp, when I was doing that. But let's say like they bring you in, Hamp. Like what would you do, Hamp? Like what changes would you implement to try to make the Battle Pass more engaging for gamers? Would it be changes to armor sets? Like what would you do, Hamp?
Yeah, that's tough. You actually caught me off guard. I didn't expect you to ask that question. I mean, probably the first thing that I would do, which is going to be a very podcast interesting answer, would be rapidly assess which of my leads was actually worth their salt. This notion that we have that the developers love Halo and it's all upper management. I'm willing to accept that hypothesis at face value, right? But I think that if you're walking in and I've talked about this at length, not with specific regards to Halo, but some other things that are problematic on the industry about various return to green plans and kind of the way I would approach it. That would be the first thing, right? Figure out who really loves Halo, who's really worth their salt. Find out who campaigned for implementations that are there now, and maybe consider that if there are people who campaign for implementations now that I think are bad or don't work, assess whether or not that's a person who kind of needs to stick around as kind of the core product leadership team. But I think the first thing is to sit that team down and assess like whether or not it can be salvaged, and whether or not there's a way forward. And I think my principal conversation with Matt and Phil would be, look, I'm not gonna invest effort and keep this team going to put Halo Infinite on life support, right? I'm not gonna invest a ton of effort and ratchet a whole team around a renewed, reinvigorated effort to keep something moving forward that has an event horizon of maybe 2 years, right? That to me is the assessment. And like, look, I appreciate and understand everybody's love for Halo. I include I include myself, in that pool now. But that would be my concern, is like rapidly assessing whether or not continued investment in Halo is a short-term love song, right? Or if it is really the way to skate and chart our way towards the future. And if in order to give ourselves a 5 to 10 year horizon, the reality is we need to do some scrapping and hibernation and start over. That to me is the tough choice that needs to be made, right? And then it's a matter of, okay, we talked about, there was one episode before when I talked a little bit about how you structure a development team around continuing maintenance on a legacy product and then slowly starting to evolve and shift your people over to the new, right? And that, a lot of people assume that, well, obviously you take your most highly talented people and move them over to the new thing. That's not always the case. Sometimes staffing numbers work out better where you keep your highly talented people on the legacy thing because they can maintain it with a lower level of effort and without all the help so that you can move larger numbers over to the new thing. And so some of that, right, is what needs to be, in my opinion, assessed about a potential rebuilding. And maybe we keep minimum numbers on Halo Infinite just to keep it as this very skinny, light touch O&M effort. And that's just to kind of keep brand awareness, in the forefront of people's minds. Just have it kind of, do a slow jog alongside the MCC. But the right answer might be around, retooling what the new thing is. And, and then maybe we need to start messaging people and say, look, if you're in love with Halo, if you fell in love with Halo, when the Xbox launched, there's always going to be the MCC. But if you're new to the Xbox family, right? We talk about all these numbers of new Xbox gamers who have onboarded, since the Series S came along, and in this generation of the Xbox Series X. If you're new, we're building Halo for the future, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be a living service game, and you people who are concerned about long progression and you want to have a career in a game that you can live in, that's what we're building. And you're going to be welcome, and you're going to have a ton of fun in that game, and it's going to have elements of Legacy Halo, but it's not going to be Legacy Halo. And some of you guys who have been with Halo all these years, I'm sorry, but quite frankly, some of you guys are about to move out of my core demographic of the people with the highest disposable income, right? As some of you yokels move on to Social Security, right? And tucking more money away for retirement and sending your kids to college. I'm more concerned about the 30-year-olds, right? Yeah. Who have the high disposable income on entertainment. And I understand that to keep their attention, I've got to build something new.
Well, that's the thing.
That's just to wrap it. And I'm not sitting here advocating for them to go off and build a battle royale. I'm not sitting here advocating for them to go off and build a Fortnite replicant or a PUBG chaser, right? What I'm saying at this point, and this actually kind of ties back to some of the philosophies that I talked about with regards to God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
In that there's an argument that 2023 is kind of an inflection point where a lot of past game design that we have been okay with is kind of at a point where developers really need to start, right, zagging, right, towards the future and picking some different trajectories on the way core gameplay is made up. And now for multiplayer PvP, I feel like we're at this point, and we've talked about this with regards to the acquisition. You can't do a Fortnite, you can't do a COD, you can't do an Apex Legends. If you're going to come out here and compete with something, it's got to be something new.
And I was going to ask you about Battle Royale. Like, is Battle Royale, because you hear a lot of people say, well, they need a Battle Royale mode because Battle Royale is popular. It drives a lot of engagement, a lot of viewership on Twitter, YouTube. People watching other people play Battle Royale, and it's COD has hit it out of the park with their Battle Royale with Warzone, and some people do think that maybe that's what Halo needs. And maybe that's not. Maybe they don't need it now, but do you think that that's something they should have in the future moving forward, where they have that, given how popular that game mode is right now?
I think, well, you said it right there, right? I think it maybe it's warranted for it to have a mode. I don't think that should be what Halo is.
Yeah.
And I think the way that they go about it needs to be something different, right, than the way everyone else does. One thing I would love to see is I would love to see a way for them to enable continuous match engagement, right? Because the problem I have with battle royales is that it's boring, right? In terms of you spend 15 minutes in a match, it's 10 to 12 minutes of looting, and it's 3 minutes of engagement. And for certain battle royales, like I talked about, my approach on Apex Legends, my problem was I couldn't get in a match and get enough trigger time to ever really get good or feel comfortable with the game's physics, right? Because I'd get an engagement, and if you don't survive that first engagement, your game's over. Now you've spent 12 minutes, right, looting and farming crap, right, for 30 seconds of engagement, right, and then you're starting over. And so I think the Apex Legends Arena mode is great, right, because it provides that additional trigger time, and so something of that kind of framework nature might be more applicable to Halo. So, I mean, I think a Battle Royale mode that rides along with it, sure. Yeah. But I don't think it should become the be-all, end-all of Halo.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it should be in addition to the other modes. Because, look, I know you don't like Capture the Flag, but I love CTF. I think it's fun. And I like the other modes, like King of the Hill. What are some of the other ones? Is it Domination?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I say I don't like Capture the Flag because other people don't know how to play Capture the Flag.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. No, I know. You know what annoys me? People play CTF and they're playing it like Team Slayer.
Yeah, and you know what
that guy did the other night.
Right, and even that works if everybody picks up that's the, like I played and I live streamed. People can go watch my channel, Rounding Off Infinity. Shameless plug. I live streamed some Halo last night, and there were a few matches of Capture the Flag, like on Bazaar, where I just played super aggressive because that's a small map, right? There's not as much of a tactical likelihood that a team's going to get the flag and extend a lead so much that you're not going to be able to catch up with them and intercept them somewhere on the map. So I played super aggressive. When we were on defense, I didn't stay next to the flag. I went out hunting and finding those guys, and we would track them down. But the reason that worked is because the other 3 people on the team picked up on that, right? And everybody went out and played super aggressive, right? And that worked. So I wasn't just out there hunting people down by myself and constantly getting double and triple teamed. But what's frustrating is, like we said that other night where that dude was standing around with a sword, not putting any sensors out. Combatants were coming in, right, and attacking us at distance, and he was just sitting there trying to wait until he could, and I could understand if there was a challenge, but I don't remember there being any energy sword challenge, right, in the Joint Ops event.
There wasn't, no. There wasn't anything specific to energy swords and, like, kills and stuff like that, but no, not at all, but, yeah. No, but, like, that's like that guy, I mean, and I was very frustrated. I was cursing a lot at that guy. And I think I was like, can I message him? Because, like he cost us. I think he cost us that game, right? I don't think we won that match. Or did we?
I think we came back and won that match. It was just much more of a struggle than it needed to be.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I think look, I think it, a battle pass that's engaging, that again, like we talked about, like the armor sets that you get, like the shoulder pads, like that doesn't feel rewarding to me, especially when they don't look good. Like, again, I love the eye candy, I love the Titan armor sets you get in Destiny, the Warlocks, the Warlocks have like these nice like armor sets, like don't they have like no, it's the Hunters that have the hoodies on them, right? Are they the ones that, like, wear the hoodies, the clothes, or whatever? Yeah.
Yep.
But what are the don't they, like, Warlocks look like decked out priests or something? You know what I mean? Like, isn't it?
Yeah, the Warlocks have the things that look very much kind of like preacher robes.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of their armor, a lot of their torso pieces have like the extended tails on them and things like that.
They're I don't forget the helmets that the Warlocks. I mean, come on, man, super sexy. Again, that's a me problem. I love the eye candy, But again, like it just like getting a shoulder pad that looks like I picked it up at a junkyard. Like that's not aesthetically pleasing to me, especially when I've spent hours and hours and hours, leveling up and going to the battle pass. I mean, to me, it just needs to be more rewarding.
Yeah, and Slobo says we did win that match.
Okay.
But yeah, and for instance, the shoulder pad thing, and like, look, I think I've been very open to, some of the things that I feel like 343 was trying to do. Like, but the shoulder pass thing is really an example of dropping an inconvenience in front of players that is just a hassle, right? And it isn't rewarding, right? To split the shoulder pads out so that you have to earn them each separately.
Yeah.
And to be quite frankly, if you care about symmetry, right, in your character design, like you don't use one shoulder pad, right? So it's like a useless tier in the battle pass, and so it just feels like Twinkie filling. It's not, like filler, it's empty calories.
Yeah, absolutely. We have with us the great Gaming Forte, who despises Halo Infinite but continues to play with us. What's up, Forte?
Halo sucks. I'm about to go to work.
What's going on, Forte? How are you today, sir?
About to go to work.
Okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends. It's snow in my driveway, and I gotta use the snow thrower when I come home.
Oh man, well, be safe out there, Forte.
Let's be all right.
Be
Halo
safe,
though.
Man. Yeah,
Halo.
So, what are your thoughts, man?
Halo's great. It's the best Halo that 343's made, but yet it might be the last Halo that 343 makes. I'm not gonna touch that post.
Well, they are out. We know they're outsourcing.
I'm not gonna touch that post for the 10-foot pole that they said, well, Halo 343 will develop Halo games and amazing and critical stories in the future, and along with multiplayer. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I just think that Halo going forward is just the identity of Halo is, and maybe this is what it needs to be. It needs to change. You need to get more people into the coffee. You need to get more different types of opinions around Halo instead of the old guard. Because I think that's kind of been part of the reason that Halo hasn't, transitioned into what people expect from, like, not only an arena shooter, but just as a shooter in general, because it has two things going against it. First, it's an arena shooter. Arena shooters are definitely not in when it comes to all this type of stuff.
How dare you with that slander?
Listen, man, I love arena shooters.
Me too.
They're like my favorite versions of first person shooters. But let's be for real, arena shooters are definitely not the in thing right now when it comes to what people want to play. They do well enough to the point where they can still be made, but they're not going to do the numbers that they used to do, because the biggest thing is there's just more competition out there. And the fact that you can get 100 people in one map, and as much as I agree with you, Hamp, on the downtime that battle royales bring, you can still get right back into another match within 2 minutes.
No. Let me double down on my allegations and indictment of battle royales.
Go ahead.
The reason battle royales are popular is because of exactly that. Because they provide the downtime, they provide social time. They let you eat your flipping Doritos and your Cheetos at your keyboard, right? Because stuff only gets intense, right, for a very small segment of time in a battle royale.
Unless you drop in the sweaty areas in Fortnite.
Yeah. Right. And then why live streamers, right? Why it does good for live streamers is exactly because of that. It provides you a ton of time that you can engage with the chat, right? Like, look, when I'm streaming Call of Duty and Halo Infinite, I don't have time, right?
You pay attention, yeah.
Right. I talk to chat before a match and I talk to chat after a match, but I don't have time to be back and forth with them right in the course of a match. But battle royales do. And so there's a feeding on that I would contend doesn't have a ton to do with actual gameplay and mechanics and combat.
So you are saying that people that I know you're not saying this, but this is just the analogy I'm going to use. So people that play battle royales have the attention span of goldfish.
Yeah. I mean, I would dare say that battle royale players are lazy.
Hey, easy there now. Easy there. Whoa. Easy there with the.
Listen,
sir. Easy there with the slander. We're not lazy.
We're not gonna. Well, I'm not gonna say that he's not he's not correct in some point of that, because when you're playing a game like Destiny's PvP or you're playing a game like Halo, every single thing you do in that game, it has to be done with a purpose. You have to have your head on a swivel, not just every minute, every second, but just every little thing you do. You got to know where your teammates are at all times. And there's been many a times that we did play some battle royales, and I'll be playing with Slow-Mo, and Slow-Mo's on the other side of the map, and I'm like, God damn, Slow-Mo, how the hell you get all the way there?
Slow-Mo goes solo. He goes rogue sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm saying Slow-Mo,
Slow-Mo, where are you going?
He's like 400 meters away from, well, not 400. He's like 150 meters away from everybody. And I'm sitting there like, good God. But that's because you were running around doing your own thing. He was doing his own thing, where you can't do that in like arena games and stuff like that.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't.
You'll get overwhelmed and stuff. So there is definitely something to that. But it also just comes back to the fact that that's what people like right now. And maybe it's not even that they really like it. It's just the fact that that's what all of the higher tier gamers or people that are putting it out there on social media or they're streaming, that's the things that they're showing. So it makes it's acceptable for people to be like, oh, I want to do this and I want to be like this person and I want to play like this. And that's kind of where we are when it comes to that genre. But the biggest thing with Halo, it's more of I really believe it's more of a Microsoft problem than anything else. What does Slow-Mo say?
Forte, do you want to read the super chat, sir?
Oh, dude, did I get you paid off something that I said?
You did. Yes, you did. Actually, something you didn't do, apparently.
Let's see. Slow-Mo with the $2 super chat. Forte would rather podcast to fulfill obligations. What obligations is he talking about?
He's been asking if you put DPS on Spotify and iTunes before you jumped on the show.
It's been up there. It's been up there for like 40 minutes now. Did he check it? Oh, probably didn't.
Slow-Mo's in bed right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's been up for 40 minutes, sir. First thing I did when I woke up this morning, I chose to ignore his text message when he was like, he sent me a gift of an anchor hitting the ground.
So Ham, what you're saying is people who play battle royales can sit at their keyboard desk, eat Popeye's chicken, and just hang out.
That's right, man. Grab a sandwich. I mean, answer the question, right? Do you? It's very simple. It can be quantified. Do you sweat as much playing a battle royale as you do when you're an arena shooter?
No, I don't. No. Absolutely not. What Forte said, your head needs to be on a swivel. I would equate
I feel like I take a bath every time I play an arena shooter.
Yeah, if I had to use an sports analogy, I would say that arena shooters are like basketball. Where battle royales like golf. It's a
golf?
different. Yeah, golf.
It's not even tennis, huh? It's golf.
It's golf. Yes, it's golf.
Tennis does have a little bit more of a back and forth to it.
I was going to call it cross country, but
I think golf is a good one. Yeah, cross country would be a good one too.
Yeah, I mean the analogy that was in my head is like, look, an arena shooter is 15 minutes of smash mouth in your face football. Right.
Yes.
It's aggressive. It's dirty. It's in the trenches. Right. And I just don't get that right out of battle royale.
Okay. So this is what. Okay. So the best analogy would be arena shooters are like baseball. The grinding and finding of your gear.
There you go.
Like the grinding and finding of your gear is like the pitcher throwing the ball at the batter every time, but everybody is just sitting there and watching it. And then once the ball is hit, that's when everybody else gets a chance to play.
Yeah,
that's literally what the analogy is.
Yeah, look. I've sung the praises of Fortnite. I laid off Fortnite and didn't get into it for a very long time, and then I jumped in it, and I was super satisfied, and I loved playing solos. Right, for a big meaty chunk of time. Right, live streamed a ton of it. But when we've played together in squads, not saying it happens all the time, but I mean, hell, there have been engagements that the squad has gotten in that just because of our separation, I've gotten no skin right in the engagement. Like the engagement might be over right by the time I get back, or I may wind up doing nothing but putting down suppressing fire and being a distraction, right? Because people go and engage. And BRAP, you and I were playing duos that one time, right? And we rolled up on a set of duos, and I took them out, right? By the time you were able to get over. So it's just a matter to me of what that do loop is, right, in combat and engagements, and what I find stimulating. So
yeah, no, I hear you, Hap. Do you guys think, like, we talk about, like, I know, Hap, you mentioned, like, they don't need to do a carbon copy of Fortnite, but when I think about, like, the one thing that really drives engagement for it, obviously the microtransactions, like the like, let's face it, like the Marvel stuff. What else do they have? I mean, like the emotes, the emoji. I mean, like they just, I mean, like, there's stuff in there. They drop the Marvel stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm buying this, and this. Like, should Halo incorporate maybe some more pop culture into the game? Like, do you think that might work? Like, I was joking around. So, hey, why don't they hire Todd McFarlane to design like Spartan skins that people can buy? Maybe things like that, or imagine them some kind of tie-in with Marvel where you get some kind of like Spartan armor that resembles Spider-Man or the Punisher or something. Is that something they should do, or is that way out of bounds?
I don't know if they have to go as far as getting a license to do it or anything like that. I mean, if you look at Destiny, how they do theirs, they have Assassin's Creed armor inside of the game now. They have Gundam Wing armor in the game now. Now it's like an interpretation of that, but when you look at it, you know exactly what it is. And so they do add things into the game that actually make people want to be like, yo, this looks amazing, and I got to spend my money on it. And I do think in a way they need to do stuff like that, because the armor in Halo is super bland. It's super bland. It's like, it's like all the armor's dirty. The only armor you're going to get that's clean is basically the Halo Championship Series army.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's the only army. I guess they came out
esports.
And said, listen, you can make all the armor in the game dirty you want, but those esports armors, those need to be super clean. We want to be able to see our faces.
Those are the best ones, man.
Like mirrors.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, but it's like, those are the best ones, but it's just like no origination. It's like you're almost just repping that team when you put that armor on. It feels like, versus it doesn't have like any individuality inside of it versus a lot of these other games. Like when you're playing Fortnite, you can put a rotator on and have a different skin every game, and it could be an expression of the type of gamer you are. It could be an expression of your favorite TV show. It could be anything. Apex Legends, the one thing I always gave them credit for is their skin game is super deep for original skins. Like, literally just progressing through the game gets you a bunch of skins. And then their calling cards, a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother aspect of the game and stuff. So there's a lot of different ways for you to kind of pimp your character, per se. And Halo just looks at it like, we're going to take the armor concept that we had with Halo 4 and Halo 5, and we're going to, kind of marry those two things together. But they're not monetizing it in a way that makes people want to buy it. And the one thing I will say about the winter event, they can give you free, so they can give you free gear inside that event. That's fine. Like, if they want to give you like a free track like they do right now that gives you free stuff, that's fine. But they can also have stuff in there that's paid that looks way better than the stuff that they put in there. Cause I feel like they nickel and dime you for the little things. Like, you'll look at a picture, like right now, I can't remember what it is, but this week it was like it's not even a full armor core. It's basically a color. It's a color skin, and there's a piece of the armor core, like the helmet piece or something, but it doesn't give you the whole thing. It just shows you a picture of the core. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, why are you charging people? Okay, so $20 basically, but you're going to show me a picture of this whole thing and have me under the illusion that this is what I can get. But no, you're just getting a little piece of it. And that goes back to what Hemp said earlier about, why are you making me unlock the shoulder packs separately? Like, why do I got to get one? Then I have to unlock the other side and stuff. It's just so much bloat, but all that stuff just comes back to being like They just didn't have enough stuff ready for the game when they first made it. So they had to like kind of spread out all of the rewards across the battle passes. And even with the game getting in a better state, they're still not adjusting to that. They're still doing the same thing. So I just think they just need to do a little bit more. They should just hire people just to do cosmetics. That's the one thing I will always give Bungie for. They literally have a team that just pumps out cosmetics for the game. And that's why Fortnite is doing as good as it does, because they just have a team of people that says, listen, you make money for the company. You don't do anything else but make money for the company. So I need you to make the most elaborate skins. We got this deal with Marvel. I need you to come up with the most amazing Hulk skins that you possibly can so we can sell 50,000 of these things or 100,000 of them. And that's what they do. But it doesn't seem 343 has so many other issues. That's probably why they're not doing that. They got to put out so many other fires before they even can get to the monetization side of the game. So who really knows? But what do you think, Hamp?
I mean, I think inspired by is okay. I don't want Halo or Halo Infinite to do a metaverse play. Fortnite's been the only one to successfully do a metaverse play. They're really the only one that's really in existence, and they've done it well. And I feel like that one instance is enough. I don't want Spider-Man in Halo Infinite. I'm okay if there's Halo Infinite armor that is Spider-Man inspired, right? That has webbing on it, that is red in color. A Halo. I don't want Iron Patriot, like that armor suit in Halo Infinite. But an armored suit that has a star on it and has a blue motif that kind of looks like Iron Patriot. I mean, I think that's fine and okay. I think and this is, gets to the, how do you skate towards the future but maintain like the spirit and ethos of Halo? I think everything still kind of needs to be in the universe in Halo, right? With some expansion on its variation and its themes, but not such that it grates against like the core of that universe. So I think having things that inspired, I think having a ton of like science fiction stuff, in there, like I don't think you should have a xenomorph armor in Halo Infinite, but having something that kind of looks like the Colonial Marines armor in some ways or is inspired by that design, I think is okay. So I mean, and I agree with you, Forte. Like I haven't thrown shade at you guys because I feel like friends shouldn't have to explain to friends why they like things. But like I'm not a super huge fan of the HCS armor because, like you said, right? I feel like I'm just running around like as a member of that team, and I'm like I'm not a member of that team, right? So I want my own stuff. And here's going to be the thing that I'm going to say that people aren't going to like. I feel like some of those armor things should be limited in number, because what I don't want like the Spider-Man inspired skin to get into the game and then for everyone to be wearing it.
Everyone's wearing it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because it takes away from that identity that you have as a character, if you will, in that game or in that moment of the game. If everyone's running around with the same armor set. I mean, and I'll say that like that's the one thing I will say this, like to the credit of 343, I haven't seen many like customized like armor loadouts or whatever, with the fire coming out of the with people have like the fire and stuff, and most of them have been pretty unique, to the individual player. Like I haven't seen many duplicates out there. Most people may have.
That's because everybody quit the season pass and quit Halo before they finished the battle pass.
Oh, you say there's not.
That's the only reason. You think about it. That's the only reason. Because I would 100% have that on, but I never finished the season 1 battle pass. I'm only at level 88, so that's the only reason I don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, but I say like I do like that uniqueness, like that. Not some people have like the same thing, like the the flame coming out of the neck or the flames, on the sleeves, whatever, the shoulders. But even then, the color, the color choice might be different, or the armor sets might be different. They did try. I mean, look, they did use the samurai armor set, which I thought was pretty cool. Although I didn't unlock that. What was the other armor set that like people were running around with that looked like World War II or something? Like that beefy set. What was that?
I mean, there's the Mark V, the Mark VII, the Rakshasa, and the I think it's called the Eagle Strike is the one that I say looks like like you're a German
Yeah.
Yeah, the
running
Eagle
around.
Strike one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
And then then the Shogun looking one is like I forget what it's like the
Is it Yarba? Yarba? I forget
It's-
what it-
starts with a Y. I can't remember.
Yeah.
yeah. No, that
Yep.
was a cool armor set. But again, I guess like my issue, my frustrations, pretty much what you guys have mentioned too, is just like those things that you earn just don't really, they're not satisfying. And to to unlock a shoulder pad, one shoulder pad at a time, or to finish, like I did. I finished the the new the joint ops. We finished it yesterday, and it's like, or I finished it this past, or maybe it was Friday night. I finished it. I got like a fire thing and like a wrist guard or something. I'm
I
like,
need to
that's
finish
it.
it.
Like, come on, like But I would say this. I think tinkering around with the weapons, and like with what Call of Duty does with the weapons, and having those customizable loadouts for different, because I have in Call of Duty, I have loadouts for different types of maps, engagements, whatever the case is. I personally, I like that tinkering, and when I'm playing the game, I feel like I'm playing for something, outside of winning for me, but I feel like I'm playing. Okay, I'm playing this because I want to unlock this next weapon upgrade, so I can get this barrel that's going to help me do this, or help me with this type of engagement. Like, I think that they should incorporate those kind of elements into Halo with their weapons. To make you don't think so, Forte?
The thing I used to hate. See,
Yeah.
listen, I'm a rank person,
Yeah.
so I used to hate every weapon in the game that wasn't a BR. If it wasn't a BR, I hated it. But recently playing the game kind of forced me, because none of you guys play rank, or at least y'all don't play rank together, so kind of got to just adapt to it. I really like where the weapons are in the game. Like, I like how that's the one charm that I feel like the game has when it comes to everybody has the same thing, and it comes down to your skill out dueling someone else. Now, teamwork and teamwork and positioning has a lot to do with that. But I like the overall balance of where the weapons are. Now, sure, I can understand, like, I think they should implement more modes, like where there's more weapon sets where you can actually pick your own loadout and go into a game with, versus them just giving you a set weapon and you got to find your weapons on the map. I can see that being a mode in the game, but making it like a wholesale change throughout the whole game, I think that would be a mistake, because I think that's the one thing that keeps it. That's the competitive side of it right there, because once you start implementing where everybody can come in with their own thing, then you have to balance things a little bit more aggressively against each other, because you have to go in with the fact that these people are going to all have something different. And that's the same thing that, Bungie deals with Destiny now, because of that chasm of, weapons that could come into the game and come into the Crucible. Right now, Bungie says, Halo 343 looks at it and they say, well, this is going to be our BR map. We're only going to put a sniper rifle on here. There's going to probably be a gravity hammer. We just got to balance the game around this type of engagements. And I think it does well when it does that. I think Halo would fall apart if you tried to implement something like that. Not saying that they couldn't try it as a mode, but I don't think it should be built into the game wholesomely.
Well, here's a little something that's a little cray-cray. So for the battle royale, and I actually think this should be an arena mode too, but I think for battle royale it should be like the required structure. So first of all, I feel like the battle royale should be squads of 4, and I feel like it should be heavily structured around the notion of it is a fire team. And it is a group of Spartans, right? In terms of kind of the military organization that we have seen, kind of portrayed in the stories. Meaning, it shouldn't like the whole notion of squads in a fire team is that it's combined arms, right? So everybody doesn't run around with the same weapon. People have different equipment, right? So for the battle royale, I feel like as you go into the match, right, there should be a period of kind of pre-squad where there's a set of 4 weapons and there's a set of 4 pieces of equipment, and the team needs to rapidly disseminate those across the team. Maybe it's something like to deal with randos, like everybody queues up with a set weapon, a set weapon, a set alternate. Maybe everybody has the same alternate, right? And then different people have different secondaries or different primaries. And then there are 4 different pieces of equipment, and everybody has those set, but there could be some like willingness to trade or whatever in the room to keep the to handle the randos. But I feel like the orientation of the battle royale should be a combined arms fire team, right? Where everybody's got different weapons, and so it's possible, right, that you could go into the battle royale, and then at some point in the match you could lose your sniper. Right, and then if you lose your sniper, like other people in the team can't pick that weapon up. Right, you have to continue the remainder of the match with that limitation. And I wouldn't mind seeing an arena mode oriented like that as well. And that's a way to kind of, and then for progression, you could have badges, right, for weapon specializations. So. That would be something that I would be interested to see, because one of the I love Fiesta because I just play Fiesta the way it naturally randomly generates the weapons that you wind up with, right, each round, right, to give me time, right, to kind of force me to play with each weapon. What I hate Fiesta is when you go against the teams that run around and don't do anything but pick up hammer, energy sword, sniper, and battle rifle. Right,
Spankers.
Yeah, it's Spanker. Yeah. So, I mean, that to me would be something to kind of be interesting and mix things up.
Yeah, no, I think that would be interesting to mix it up like that. Yeah. No, and I know Forte had to leave, but to Forte's point, like I understand, like kind of how changing the formula might, and I understand the weapon balance and everything like that, but I think and I go back to again live service game. What I said earlier in the show was, they need to keep the lights on, and based on player engagement. I mean, like, my question is how much longer can they have and we don't know what the player engagement is on Xbox. I'm just speaking to the numbers on PC, 7,000, I think, active, concurrent players. But it's how long can they keep that at that level before it's like, it doesn't make sense for us financially to keep this game going. Yeah, and that's why and that's why I'm thinking like they maybe something radical. Or maybe there's a middle ground here. I don't know, but I do think they need to do something to help drive that engagement, to get people to invest in, the content in Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I mean, I think the harsh reality is that if you're going to do live service game as a service, living game, you have to have multiple progression paths that keep people interested.
Yeah.
And Halo Infinite's model right now, right, constrains and limits what those progression paths are, because I think of their effort to kind of keep the design within the bounds of what the legacy Halo community will accept.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I think maybe you agree with me, but look, diehard Halo community be damned. I think maybe it's just time for them to move on, because I just don't know how long they can sustain having a Halo game with this so many players. Having so little players, and not making any money, because you're right. You have to have some kind of engagement to keep a live service game going. You have to keep people wanting to come back, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that. I mean, look, I know they're. Look, I remember people were saying the King is back when Halo first released, and then it seems like the engagement just fell off a cliff. So yeah.
I mean, I think the dynamic that has to be understood, right, is if people, why aren't diehard Halo fans playing Halo Infinite? Why would they want to play? Why would they want to play the MCC if the MCC, doesn't have progression pass, it doesn't have battle passes, and doesn't have seasons? Then then Halo Infinite isn't any less or more attractive to them, right, than the MCC is. So why make them a focus of your consumer base?
Yeah.
Right. If you're trying to attract a new consumer base, there's an argument that says double down and go after that as your primary, rather than trying to entertain the legacy people who really maybe in volume are not the demographic that's willing to come along right into the future of battle passes and seasons.
And I don't think, and again, just based on the layoffs and understanding that part of the layoffs were due to the fact that the studio wasn't hitting its financial targets, that legacy base, they might not be the ones that can keep the lights on, and then what does that mean for Halo in the future, and then it makes me think about Forge, Champ. Like, how do they need to monetize Forge? Because, and then again, Forge kind of splits the player base too. So what do they do with Forge? And look, I love the creativity of Forge. I love seeing some of the stuff that people in the community have come up with. And I think some of those design modes. I mean those modes that they create. I know there's a mongoose one where you race around the mongoose, and it's inspired by Mario Kart. I think there's even there's like a picture of Bowser or something, I think, in one of those maps. But as creative and as cool as those things are, I mean, do they need to figure out how to monetize Forge too? Because again, I keep going back. Like, how do they keep this thing going? How do they keep bringing money into Halo to keep the lights on, or keep this thing going?
Well, the thing I've just never understood about Forge and Halo Infinite is, and one of my mutuals, mentioned it the other day. It's like, why aren't the cream of the crop of this user created content pulled into the Team Slayer rotation? Why are they splintered off in this area where, first of all, you have to kind of dig, right, to find those things, and then you can just go into them. And because I was already completed the battle passes when we finally started playing some Forge, I don't know that they contribute to your battle pass progression.
They don't.
Somebody else up,
yeah. They don't.
So there you go. So I mean, why play Forge unless and I get. And I get that, if you're a super social player and you're always playing with the same squad and you guys are on every night, I get that. I'll have to give that some more thought about whether or not, that's a viable, feasible, business model to keep people engaged. I know for me personally, one of my absolute requirements when I play these games is that it has to be a game that maintains my interest if I solo queue. It can't have a dependency upon me getting everyone together and us all being on the same schedule and being able to play at the same time, right? I play Halo Infinite now because I don't have any problems with going in and playing Halo Infinite, right, by myself, right? With nobody else on comms, even though, obviously you're playing multiplayer with other randos, right? But it's fun to me as well, right? Playing in those matches.
Yeah, it's like when people say, "Oh, but it's fun with friends." It's like,
right,
to me.
Well,
like,
as opposed to Overwatch, right? Which,
yeah.
look, I'm not stimulated by playing Overwatch whatsoever unless I'm in with other people that I game with, and we're on comms.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how the future of Halo plays out, and it just it's interesting. I think about 20 years ago, the impact of Halo on the industry when Halo released, and here we are 20 years later, and it's like we're having these conversations about Halo. Conversations I never thought that would be had. But I do hope the game, in my opinion, I do hope the game changes, that it pivots to, some of the things that I mentioned. Because again, I go back to, if I'm just looking at PC numbers and they just had these layoffs, like, how sustainable is Halo as it is in its current form today? How sustainable is it to keep going for the business?
Well, and this brings up an aspect that I really love talking about when we talk about games, right? Is the evolution of the art and the evolution of design.
Yep.
And we talk about the Splash Halo made 20-something years ago, right? And we talk about, you mentioned now how, we're having a completely different conversation. And one of the facets that to me that was different was, in my opinion, having been, a PC gamer back then too, is like, in my opinion, shooters on consoles back then were in the same bucket that I put RTSs and strategy games and flight simulators on console. Like, I'm just not playing those genres on console because of the wide gulf in capability and enjoyment that I get when I play those games on PC. Halo came along and really tightened up that first-person shooter on console experience to the point where I was very interested. I was suddenly interested, right, to play shooters on console, where I felt like playing shooters on console was a viable alternative. And they really changed that conversation, right, with shooters on console. And then when it went multiplayer, right, it was just kind of incredible. And then when you talk about that being an evolutionary arc in the industry, we've just traced to a point over time, over the timeline, where Halo doesn't have that impact, right? The art and the design have evolved to where being a good tight shooter with great mechanics on console has limitations, right? And not saying that it's useless. People are still probably playing, I guess, the MCC on console as well. So there's some scratch there. But when you talk about trying to make a business model to make a business division go, that's probably not enough. And you have to start exploring other ways to do that. And other shooters are out there doing that in ways that Halo Infinite is not.
Yeah, that's a great point, Hap. That's a great point. Well, look, I do want to wrap up this rant, but I just want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat for coming by, hanging out with us for this impromptu rant. Also want to thank Gaming Forte, who stopped by before we had to go to work. So thank you, Forte. I don't know if you're still listening on your way to work. Please be safe, Forte. I know you mentioned that there is some snow out there, so just be safe driving to work. But Hamp, look, man, always a pleasure talking shop with you, sir. I appreciate it. Although I don't agree with you with the commentary and the slander on people who play Battle Royale games.
Yeah, look, I don't.
Hey, we're not all about eating Cheetos at our desk here, Hamp. Come on.
and I said the things that I said to express my philosophical thought about those games in the most extreme. I did not hate Battle Royale players. I don't feel like Battle Royale players are ruining the industry like a lot of these other things that gamers would say. I just think those games have a different stimulation factor,
absolutely,
than arena shooters, and I get that other people think they're popular. I just think that they're popular for certain reasons in ways that don't stimulate me.
Yeah, I understand. I just thought it was funny. You were like, you eat the Cheetos, and that just made me laugh. And look, everyone, go out to your local Popeyes and get the biscuits and mashed potatoes, and dip the biscuits in the mashed potatoes because it's really good.
Yeah, and if you don't have a Popeyes, Bojangles is an acceptable alternative.
Yes, Bojangles is an acceptable alternative. I'm not a big KFC fan, by the way. Just not a big KFC fan.
No, KFC is like the arena shooters of fast food chicken.
Oh my goodness! All right. Yeah, not a big fan of. I haven't been into. I haven't really. I don't know. Like I grew up with just only having KFC. And then I think when and Geno's was another one I think I grew up with. I don't know if you guys had Geno's, Hamp, growing up. That was another one.
No, we didn't.
But no, I've come to appreciate Popeyes and Bojangles. But Popeyes definitely is the king in my opinion in terms of fast food chicken places. So yeah. Yeah,
and if you're wondering when I say I love Popeyes, yes, there is some covert subversive shade that I'm throwing in that statement at Chick-fil-A. So
I hate that Chick-fil-A's closed on Sundays because my kids want it. It's like, oh, we want Chick-fil-A. I'm like, it's closed Sunday. Why is it closed? McDonald's is open. I'm like, well, because McDonald's is open and Chick-fil-A's closed. I mean, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like,
who asked for that?
Yeah, hey, who asked for Chick-fil-A to be closed on Sunday? It sounds like. That sounds anti-consumer.
It's anti-consumer, yeah.
it's anti-consumer because McDonald's is open and they're not.
They could just choose to suck up those costs, right, and have it hit their bottom line.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't they just absorb those costs?
We're not here to talk about foreign exchange rates, though.
No, we're not. Actually, Chick-fil-A's closed on Sundays because we're in a recession.
There we go.
Please, if you're going to make commentary about a recession, at least look up the definition of a recession. That's all I ask. That's it. That's all I ask. The information is out there. My goodness, man. All right, Hamp. Hamp, always a pleasure, man, talking video games with you, man. I appreciate your time today and, chopping it up about Halo Infinite. Hey, if you decide to hop on Halo Infinite later, let me know, Hamp. I'm always up for a good round of Team Slayer. And I don't know, Slow-Mo, if you're listening, if you're feeling better, man, I hope you feel better. If you're up for a little Halo Infinite, please let me know as well, man. I'll jump on, man, and play some some Slayer. Although Hamp, I was getting nasty with that one round we played the other night. I was getting nasty with that sniper rifle, man, on that map. What's that map called again?
Which were we on detachment? Was it one of the newer maps?
No, it was the map with the bridge across the middle.
Catalyst.
Catalyst. Oh my God, dude! I just remember guys walk, and I just remember I was sitting on the standing on that middle platform, and I was just they would come running by, and you know you get those headshots where like they're running and you time it perfectly, and you kind of see their body kind of like do a flip. Oh my goodness, man.
Oh, by the way, yeah. I didn't tell you. And so first of all, you always tempt me to get on Halo Infinite. And I'm tempted now, so I may. I so need to get over to Fire Emblem Engage though, because I bought that.
Yeah, I thought you were. I thought you were playing that last night, or going to play it last night. Huh?
I did not. I wound up live streaming Halo. I was going to play Fire Emblem Engage when I got off live streaming Halo Infinite, but I wound up blogging actually. So I wrote an article.
Oh, the AAA games article, right?
Yes, yeah.
I need to read that. I did retweet it. I need to read it. By the way, Hamp, I always say your blogs are they're great. Always.
I appreciate it.
No, they really are. I mean, it's better than some of the shit I see like from Kotaku. And...
Yeah, I've thrown a lot of slander at games journalists this morning as well. But yeah, I wrote an article about trends in AAA and this notion. You know, we blew up last week, mainly driven by the comment that was allegedly made at an all hands, I guess, with Yves Guillemot, where somebody supposedly said, you know, why aren't we setting trends instead of following them? And I wrote a blog post about how, look, I get the Braveheart kind of, cheerleading around that, and that sounds great.
This is Sparta.
But I wrote a blog post about, okay, what is the reality of the business? And the fact of the matter is that the business is around, replicating trends and not necessarily carving new paths forward, and that happens really infrequently, based on risk management of portfolios, et cetera. So, so that was a post I wrote. But anyway, that was one of the things I did when I got off Halo Infinite last night. But I also finished season 2, finished my binge of season 2 of Sons of Anarchy. So I didn't get on Fire Emblem Engage last night. But what I meant to tell you about Halo Infinite is I followed Forte's advice. Unfortunately, he's gone. I should have mentioned this to him. I followed Forte's advice. I got a 34-inch ultra-wide 3440 by 1440p monitor. I did take that for a spin yesterday in playing Halo Infinite, and it is an incredible experience.
Wow, dude!
Yeah.
You if you could like put a video up of that, and I saw the monitor, by the way, and I was actually going to DM you. I was going to DM you and ask you, Hamp, is this something I should buy?
I think there's an argument that you should. Yeah.
Really? Oh man! All right, Hamp, we're gonna have to talk offline, sir. Because hey, BRAP, I haven't got myself a birthday present yet. My birthday was like 3 weeks ago, so. I need to give myself a birthday gift. I do this every year, and I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and actually, the one that I got is actually pretty. It's not one of these. I didn't go with an IPS monitor. I could have gone after the $1,200 Alienware. I kind of thought about like what my use case was, and the fact of the matter is that, I wanted to jockey a little bit to conserve on price, because the fact of the matter is I won't be playing in ultra wide 3440 by 1440p all the time. Because I live stream, right, and that means I'm going to be going through a capture card, which means I'm going to be clamped certain cases. So splurging, and I got to buy multiple monitors, right, because I have multiple gaming PC setups. So it was really reasonably priced. I paid about $400 for the monitor. It's the Gigabyte 34-inch, which reviews really well.
Really? 400?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, and what's that?
No, I said, yeah, I need to talk to you, because you bring up use case. I'm just thinking about my use case, like if it still makes sense for me to invest in that, because, that would be my primary monitor. I only have, one PC, so, but we can talk about that offline, yeah.
Yeah, and you and I use the same. I mean, you're using the same monitor that I recommended, and it is an improvement over that monitor. Just in the experience, and again, yeah, we can talk about use cases because my problem was when Forte mentioned it. I was like, well, not every shooter has a 3440 by 1440p right resolution option. So that's something to think about too. But at any rate, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, but $400. I mean, that's a great that's a great deal, man. But yeah, I'll talk to you about use case for myself if it makes sense for me. Because for the reasons you just mentioned, like not every game supports that. So
right. Yeah. I mean, for $400, you can afford to be wrong.
I can afford not to use the entire screen.
Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's just going to be weird to not use the entire screen. You know what I mean? That's gonna be I don't know, but I could always switch over to my OLED. I mean, I use my OLED as a to play games on. And by the way, the OLED is I mean, I gotta Slobo and I were talking about the latency in the OLED. It's actually pretty low when you use it as a PC monitor. So I forget what it is for the LGC one, but I tell you what, it looks great. But when I'm playing Halo on my 65-inch OLED, it looks incredible, man, incredible. And I'm playing at 1440p, even at 1080p resolution at high settings, man, it looks incredible.
Right, and like Cryptopsy says in the chat, right, the problem with ultra wides is sometimes games don't really support that mode fully, and they wind up like just stretching the image so it looks wonky. But the other thing I'll say on the ultra wide is I definitely experiment being somebody I've been multi-monitor since I don't know like 2002. And I typically never run a PC setup without multiple monitors. But over the last year or two, I have experimented with a little. I have found cases where, just if you're OCD, you don't like all the clutter, but also from a work efficiency perspective, I think there are use cases where I've seen like you're more efficient and more focused when you have a single monitor and you could just split it and kind of use it as two screens. Rather than having two monitors, on your desk and taking up that space and yada yada. So it's an option.
Yeah. But still, I mean, at that price point, that's a great price point, man. It's very tempting, very tempting. So, but look, everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us in the live chat. Really appreciate it. Please hit that like button. If you haven't done so, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. We'll be back. BRAP will be back on this coming Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely come hang out with us then. And have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy some time playing video games. And until next time, gamers, thank you. We'll see you then.